12 spine-chilling air hostess tales, terrifying flight experiences revealed from the haunted skies. Mary strapped herself in on the red-eye flight, a chill creeping up her spine. The cabin lights dimmed, casting eerie shadows. With a deep breath, she welcomed the familiar click of the seat belts, masking the foreboding sensation curling in her gut. This wasn't just any flight. The clock struck midnight, the witching hour when unease dripped like ice from the overhead compartments. She couldn't shake that feeling. Something was off. She began her safety demonstration, reciting the same lines she knew by heart, yet they felt hollow tonight. She stole a glance at the middle row. A cloaked figure sat there, blending into the shadows as if carved from the darkness itself. Her heart raced. Was it fatigue playing tricks, or something far more sinister lurking? The whispers began softly, passengers sharing tales of ghostly encounters they've had while flying, as if pulling each other into a vortex of fear. The stories transfixed her, malevolent spirits thriving on their anxiety floated with them through the skyscape. Just as Mary felt their collective dread tightening, flickers sputtered from the cabin lights, leaving passengers gasping in confusion. A man's pallid face turned toward her, eyes wide in terror. "I can see it!" he shouted, voices echoing, growing. "A figure, in my dreams, it's come for us." Anxiety intensified, wrapping around Mary like a vice. The air thickened, laden with a palpable fear that sent shivers down her spine. Her gaze slid back to the cloaked figure, narrowing. A glint caught her eye. There it was again. Merely a flicker or the beginning of something dreadful? Before she could convince herself it was imagination, a local police officer stood up, his badge catching the dim light. Cold dread washed over her. His reputation in Maplewood was dark. She knew some of the town's secrets whispered about in hushed tones. What had he brought on board with him? Confusion morphed into panic, amplifying the already tense atmosphere as passengers exchanged fearful glances. Before she could fully process this danger, something icy brushed against her shoulder. Instinctively, she spun around. Nothing was there. Yet, her own memories twisted viciously in her mind, echoing her mother's whispered warnings of lost souls and haunting night terrors from her childhood. It connected. No. She gasped, pulse racing as dread washed over her. Could it be true? The stories weren't just folklore. The intercom crackled to life, but the voice that spoke was not that of the attentive captain she expected. It was disembodied, grating. "We are not alone." Panic rocketed through the plane, morphing ordinary faces into masks of terror. Mary's heartbeat pounded her ears as sinister laughter vibrated in the air, mingling with the chaos. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with the reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The cabin was plunged back into chaos. Mary locked eyes with every face, each reflecting her own terror. Who among them harbored secrets worse than the figure creeping through the dark? Shadows shifted, the temperature dropped, and Mary clenched her fists, feeling the weight of impending doom close in. All it took was a haunted whisper in the night, and now flight wasn't just a means to an end, it became a fight for survival. Each passenger, once a stranger, now loomed like suspects in a sinister tale of the unknown. As clever minds reeled and the specter of madness unfurled its dark chapters, Mary braced herself. The skies, now treacherous, held unspoken horrors that would either take her down or unveil truths she dared not confront. For something dark was stirring, and with it, a question lingered in the heavy air: who would make it out of this plane alive? The cabin reverberated with adrenaline-fueled panic. Mary fought to keep it all together. Every face glimmered with fear, and every breath felt thicker, suffocating. "Please, remain calm," she urged, her voice trembling. But the utter absurdity of her command only fueled the frenzy. "You're not the one who needs to calm down," a man screamed, pointing at the cloaked figure. "It's him." Mary followed his trembling finger, her heart plummeting. The figure hadn't moved, yet it felt closer, its presence curling like a noxious fog around her. Closer. It was as if the shadows had grown teeth, eager to bite. "Just a trick of the light," Mary muttered, more for herself than anyone else. But how could she convince a cabin full of screaming passengers? Distant wails morphed into incoherent chatter, each sound twisting into an echo of dread and overwhelming chorus of despair. Mary felt something scratch at her mind, an old, buried memory. Flashes of midnight stories around flickering campfires, warnings of things that preyed on fear and despair. Her mother had always said fear bred nightmarish forms. Then, out of the chaos, the officer made his way to the rear of the plane, pushing through the throng of terrified bodies. She couldn't breathe. A horrible realization clutched at her throat. Had he brought whatever darkness haunted Maplewood with him? "Where are you going?" she shouted, panic now hitching a ride on her fear. "You should stay." He merely glanced back, a fleeting look of both defiance and ghostly fear in his eyes, vanishing into the aisles. Each stride echoed like the tolling of a bell, a dark knell resounding through the cabin. Mary scanned the crowd again. Faces morphed into grotesque masks, their features solidified in horror. Someone began to sob quietly, their body shaking like a leaf caught in a storm. The sound hung in the air, an anchor of despair no one could shake. Suddenly, the plane shuddered, a violent jolt throwing everyone against their seats. Ominous thunder rumbled overhead, as if the heavens themselves were fretting over this flight. Oxygen masks dropped with a hiss, bouncing off heads, falling to the floor. A passenger screamed, "We're going down." The words ignited madness. Despair pulsed in the air like a living thing. "Get the masks on!" Mary shouted, her voice an iron anchor in the whirlwind. She wrestled with her own anxiety and focused on the masks as they fluttered down like ominous butterflies. But in the frantic scramble to latch them on, she caught glimpses of frantic eyes, searching for salvation. A low growl echoed through the cabin, a noise that shouldn't exist in this world. The lights flickered one last time, plunging them into darkness. Whispers slid through the shadows, harsh, biting words clawing at her ears. "He is here." The weight of terror settled heavily, thick and unyielding. Mary felt a cold breath against her neck, a foreboding hint of something coming, something just out of sight. Was it the cloaked figure? Or was it the very darkness itself that crept close, and then silence? It choked the air. A void washed over them, both tempting and terrifying. Mary struggled to breathe, her soul screaming as she grasped at fleeting hope. She couldn't let it end like this. Not in this hell. Out there, the accusing shadows danced just beyond the light, mocking her. The intercom buzzed back to life, this time with a voice laced in malice. "You wanted to know the truth?" it hissed, chilling every bone in her body. "Welcome to your final destination." Her heart thundered, pulses raced, and the echoes of despair accelerated around her. Trapped, the question burned in her mind: who, or what, would be allowed to leave this haunted flight alive? The silence snapped like a taut string, and the intercom crackled with a sinister energy, igniting panic anew among the already frayed passengers. Mary's heart pounded dully against her ribcage. Final destination. A whispered dread gripped the cabin, tightening its hold with every breath drawn. Fear twisted like a noose around their throats, and shadows flickered, promising dark revelations. Mary gripped her armrests, nails digging into the faux leather, grounding herself in this nightmarish reality. The furthest corners of the cabin remained shrouded in impenetrable darkness, warped by the dim glow of the emergency lights. Suddenly, a shrill cry tore through the silence. A woman, her face pale as death, clawing at her throat and gasping. "I can't breathe." The oxygen masks dangled hopelessly around her, but the fear paralyzing her made it impossible to think, to act. Others rushed to help, adding to the chaos, and the cabin erupted into a storm of cries and desperate movements. Mary's eyes darted to the cloaked figure, which seemed to absorb the fear, feeding on it. The darkness that enveloped it shifted, almost alive, as if it pulsed to the rhythm of their panic. This wasn't just a flight, this was a hunting ground, and each scream only served to sharpen its senses. With a surge of resolve, Mary stood up, forcing her way through the throng. "Everyone, stay calm. Get your masks on." But her words splintered against the chaos. She could feel despair gnawing at her resolve, urging her to flee, hide, abandon the cabin. Still, she pushed forward. The low growl echoed again, vibrating through the metal shell of the plane, resonating with the deepest marrow of her bones. It was no longer the man in the cloak, this was something much older, much more sinister. Instinct screamed at her, the darkness was alive. Mary turned, searching faces. They were hungered by despair, eyes darting in unison toward every creak and groan of the aircraft. "We need to stay together," she implored, fighting to bridge the chasm of fear rippling through the crowd. But from the back of the cabin, where the officer had disappeared, a figure emerged. He staggered forward, face twisted in an unmistakable mask of terror. "It's coming. We have to." His words fell away, swallowed by collective horror. The cloaked figure stepped forward, now almost illuminated by flickering emergency lights. Its face remained hidden, but a sense of identity twisted in the air, sharp and familiar. The shape seemed to swell, dark tendrils reaching out towards the passengers. Mary couldn't hold back the shiver that raced up her spine. This wasn't coincidence, it was a reckoning. Her mother's tales flooded her mind, the stories of things lurking in the void, waiting for the moment when fear would overwhelm the heart. Then a chill swept over her, a whisper, cold and sweet, brushed against her ear. "Only one can survive it," hungered, loomed. They were not just passengers, they were prey. The cabin erupted in chaos once more. Screams and pleas pushed against the walls, turning sound to fury. Someone lunged, their seatbelts still fastened, desperate to escape the truth. Mary grabbed their arm fiercely. "No. Stay. We must face this together." But as she clutched at fleeting hope, the lights flickered one last time, dimming to a near candlelit glow. The cloaked figure drew closer, and with it, the terrible decision hovered over them all. What measure of salvation would they choose? Would they resist, fight the darkness, or succumb to despair? In that moment of dread splintering into chaos, a thought struck Mary with terrifying clarity. Could there only be one survivor, and if so, who would it be? An ominous rumble vibrated through the structure of the plane, and the darkness thickened, a tangible thing pressing in on all sides. Whatever was happening now was only the beginning. And as the intercom crackled again, this time with that same bone-chilling malice, Mary braced herself. "We're taking off to another realm." She felt the chilling breath of something creeping closer, a truth too horrifying to face. Who among them would become the puppeteer, and who would become the marionette? In this nightmare, every decision could seal their fates. The shadows around them whispered secrets. Mary clenched her eyes shut, knowing the shadow's hunger grew insatiable. What awaited them next? What would happen when it was their turn to choose? The air grew thicker, suffocating, as the whispers intensified. Mary felt a bead of sweat trickle down her temple, slicking her skin. The cloaked figure loomed just a breath away, its dark presence casting a shadow that devoured the feeble glow of emergency lights. A flash of insight struck her like lightning. "We need to know who it is," she yelled, her voice cutting through the noise of despair. "Show us your face." It was a reckless dare, but what choice did they have? They were in a graveyard of unfulfilled promises, trapped in an abyss of lost dreams. The figure haltingly paused, tremors rippling through its form, as if caught off guard by the challenge. The passengers held their breath, the terrified hush forming a wall of silence. Mary could see the flicker of uncertainty in the depths of the figure's mass. Maybe they could wrest something from the dark, break the spell of terror binding them. Then, in a heartbeat, the air shifted, an icy wind swept through the cabin, extinguishing the faint flickers of light. The shadows shrieked, twisting and curling around every passenger. The darkness, palpable and thick, surged forward like a living thing. "I can't see!" someone cried, hands flailing into the oblivion. "Focus!" Mary shouted, her heart hammering as her instincts kicked in. "We can't let it consume us." She reached out into the void, trying to connect with the others, struggling to combat the encroaching fear. "Remember something, anything that brings you hope." She squeezed her eyes shut, searching her mind, grasping for memories. Laughter, sunshine, the scent of spring flowers, anything to anchor her to life outside this nightmare. The faint image of her younger brother, playful and bright, shimmered before her like a beacon. She needed strength, now more than ever. Suddenly, the voice returned, echoing like a mournful chant, reverberating through the cabin walls. "One must be chosen, one must fall." The chilling mantra had begun again, weaving through the minds of all present. They were puppets, tangled in the strings of dread, held hostage by a malevolence they couldn't comprehend. A desperate outburst broke the silence. "Who will it be?" "Who?" "No. Stop." Mary gasped, panic clawing at her throat. They couldn't give in to it, couldn't let the fear dictate their choices. It's a trick." Just then, above the panic, a voice rang out, a male voice, cutting through the fabric of despair. "I will save us." A man stood, face twisted, but determination in his eyes. "I will sacrifice myself." "No." Mary shrieked, forgetting her own fears. "We can't let anyone go. We can fight this together." But it was too late. The figure stirred, darkness gathering around the man like a hungry beast. "One must fall," it whispered, the sound seeping into Mary's bones. Everyone held their breath as the man stepped forward, trembling slightly, his bravado melting with each flicker of the lights. "I'll do it," he shouted, "for the rest of you." "No," Mary breathed. Her heart fell into an abyss as she watched dread paint the scene before her. This was it. This was the moment when humanity's darkest instincts clawed to the surface. As the man moved closer to the cloaked figure, his silhouette caught the meager light, revealing the terror he faced, himself. A glimpse of twisted shadows danced behind him, memories of his own past, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes. No. He fell back, grappling with unseen demons, and the moment shattered. The cabin shook as a scream tore through the chaos, not just one, but a chorus of terror. The air shift deepened, thick with the taste of despair, and the cloaked figure swelled in response, feasting on the terror it had incited. Mary felt desperation grip her heart. They had to unite against this malevolence, or they would all fall. "Do not give in," she screamed, voice trembling but fueled by the will to survive. "We will not be a feast for the dark." But from the shrouded corners of the cabin, doubt crept in, and the flickering lights hinted at the chilling truth about who among them would survive. The question loomed now, heavy with uncertainty: could they truly face the darkness together, or was the sacrifice already chosen? As the shadows writhed closer, a deep, gravely laugh echoed, teasing into their minds. Choose wisely. In that electrifying moment, with hearts pounding, each passenger felt the truth weigh heavily in the air. Would they turn against one another, or stoke the flicker of hope within? What would happen next? A suffocating silence fell over the cabin, shrouding them in thick darkness, as if the world outside no longer existed. Panic surged once more, hearts racing frantically like trapped animals. Mary could hear her own breath, short and frantic, as the shadows twisted closer, an encroaching malevolence thickening like fog. "Stay together," a woman cried, her voice trembling. "Don't let it take you." Mary could hear the desperation echoing through her words, resonating with a truth that struck deep. They were all targets now, nothing more than sacrifices waiting to happen. "Hold on to each other," Mary shouted, extending her hands in the dark, seeking warmth, connection. All around her, she could feel the presence of others, their bodies moving cautiously in search of comfort. She clenched her fists, fighting back the despair pressing against her throat. An unsettling stillness engulfed the cabin as the laughter faded, replaced by a deafening heartbeat, as if the very aircraft was alive, thrumming with a rhythm of fear. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the suffocating quiet. "Let go of me." "No." The man who had stepped forward, the one who tried to be a hero, was gone, swallowed whole by darkness. The passengers recoiled, shudders rippling through them like an electric shock. "What have we done?" someone whispered, the voice laced with horror. "No." Mary shouted, a wave of defiance washing over her. "This isn't over." But the shadows surged and writhed, transforming into an almost tangible force, a shadowy nightmare eager to consume. "One must fall," it whispered again, its voice now dripping with malice. A sudden idea pierced Mary's mind. "We can't let it choose for us." She yelled into the void, scrambling to gather her thoughts. "We fight together." Her heart raced, driven by the urgency of the moment. Survivors began murmuring among themselves, their eyes wide, faces pale, fear pinching their features tighter with every heartbeat. Mary knew they were lost if they continued like this, lost in a loop of despair. "Focus on something. Picture it," she implored, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Anything that reminds you of light, of hope." She shut her eyes again, the darkness pushing closer, drowning her in memories of the outside world. She could picture her brother, laughing, the sun on their faces, the warmth felt, the safety of home. But as she grasped for these thoughts, the shadows seemed to respond, twisting and taunting her. It whispered again. "A price must be paid. What will you offer?" The passengers froze, a sudden chill radiating through the cabin. "I want to let it take me." Someone gasped, lurching forward, their silhouette barely discernible against the dark. "I'll do it. I'll sacrifice myself if it means the others can escape." "No." Mary's heart sank further, another soul lost to the darkness. "Don't. We can find a way out." But the roar of chaos enveloped them, murmurs erupting into frantic chatter. "It chose him. He has to go. No, it can't end like this." Anguish twisted everyone's words, spiraling into madness. Then, a single voice broke through, fierce and commanding. Mary turned to see a woman standing tall, defiance radiating off her. "We fight, not for ourselves, but for each other." The echoes of their hopes began to mingle, filling the air like screams trapped in flesh, an unspoken agreement taking shape. Together, they moved, forming a fragile circle of unity, their hands clasped tightly above a pool of darkness threatening to swallow them whole. Then the voice of the cloaked figure pierced through again, low and mocking. "One must fall. Choose wisely." As the air thickened, the lights flickered ominously, shadows weaving through their connection, testing their resolve. Would they succeed in overcoming the darkness, or would it claim them before the dawn? The figure loomed closer, and the cabin trembled with anticipation, a storm brewing on the horizon. Each heartbeat a countdown as they faced a truth waiting to be revealed. What would happen next? Would they escape the grasp of despair, or would the darkness finally feed? The darkness pulsed, a living entity, and the whispers grew louder, weaving through the cabin like a sinister smoke. Faces turned toward each other in a chaotic mix of desperation and fear. Mary felt the heat of palms against hers, a tether binding them together against the encroaching shadows. "Focus!" she shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of the impending doom. "Remember why we fight." But doubt lingered in their eyes. Each flicker of the dim lights cast haunting shapes, twisting the walls into grotesque reminders of their peril. The cloaked figure loomed larger, its laughter echoing like shattered glass. "Your strength is feeble. Look where it has brought you." The words struck deep. One passenger clutched her stomach, dread gnawing at her insides. "What if we can't win?" she whispered. "No." Mary said fiercely, willing the naivety of hope back into the group. "We're not giving in. We have to push back together." With urgency swelling in her chest, Mary pulled from her memories of home the cozy scent of coffee brewing in the morning light, the sound of her brother's laughter, and the feel of the cool grass beneath her feet on warm summer days. "Think of what we're fighting for," she urged, locking her eyes onto each frightened face around her. "We've got families, we enough." The shadows twisted violently, interrupting her pleas. In an instant, a strong gust swept through the cabin, extinguishing what little light remained. Mary gasped, pulling her hands tighter around those of the fellow survivors. "What do we do?" A man's voice trembled, thick with fear. "What do we offer? I won't lose anyone else," Mary cried. Her voice trembled but she pressed on, "We don't give it offerings. We resist. We stand as one." The laughter turned more menacing, a cacophony surrounding them, squeezing their breath into painful gasps. The figure stepped closer. "One must fall," it repeated with unholy glee. The sound of a swift movement caught Mary's attention. A figure at the edge of the circle. "I'll go." It was a woman with steely resolve, her eyes glistening. "I choose to save my child. Let me go." "No!" Mary shouted, her heart racing. "You can't. Not like this. I want to let this thing take him." The woman's voice cracked, her chin raised defiantly. And just like that, a rupture tore through the collective will of the group. Someone in the circle cried out, "No. We need each other. We can get through this." The shadows seemed to feed off the discord, swirling with vibrant rage. The thickness of the air stung like needles. One must fall or all shall perish. A paralyzing panic seized Mary as the cloaked figure extended its skeletal hand toward the woman, beckoning her closer. Time slowed. Mary felt desperate clarity puncture through her fear. There had to be a way to escape this hellish game. "Think. Look for the source," she shouted, breaking through the chaos, her voice slicing through the murk. "We have to find the heart of the darkness. It can't just be this figure." Buy-in was shifting. Eyes widened as they began to murmur amongst themselves, the idea sparking something steadfast inside. "Yes," someone said, voice growing stronger, echoing Mary's call. "We'll fight. We'll find the heart." But just as hope flickered to life, a hair-raising silence enveloped them, suffocating and thick. The figure's voice was a serpent's hiss. "In mere moments, one will fall, make haste." With chilling dread spiraling around her, Mary felt the walls closing in. The shadows swirled faster, threatening to collapse on their fragile unity. Who would step forward? In that terrifying moment, she realized this was just the beginning, a choice that would set the course for all of them. But as the lights flickered ominously once more, the cabin groaned, the windows rattling violently. "Do you even believe you can win?" And then a ghastly wail echoed throughout the cabin, a sound too familiar. The voice belonged to a child. The whisper of despair coursed through the air, choose wisely." As darkness descended once again, panic erupted in the cabin like wildfire. Would they unravel the depths of dread, or was it too late to save themselves from the haunting? The shadows thickened, wrapping around Mary and her group like a suffocating cloak. Each breath felt like inhaling ashes. She could barely hear over the pounding of her pulse, drowning out their panicked whispers. "Why is it just a choice?" A man cried out, his voice cracking. "Why can't we all just fight?" "Because it needs a sacrifice." The cloaked figure hissed, the essence of darkness twisting around its words. "And without it, you will all perish." Mary's mind raced. "No. It's playing games with us. We have to think properly," she shouted, forcing the remnants of courage into her voice. "Stop!" a woman exclaimed, gripping her friend's arm. "What if it's right? What if we've already lost?" Her eyes darted to the edges of the cabin, haunted by invisible threats. "Don't give in to it. Don't let it worm its way into your mind." Mary's words felt like the last light of hope. She turned to the others, searching the dim faces for resolve. "We need to find the heart of the darkness, fight it together." But their confidence was already gushing out like water from a cracked dam, mingling with despair. A sudden thud reverberated through the cabin, vibrating in their bones. The cloaked figure took a step forward, lifting its skeletal hand. The air grew heavier. One must fall, it's your only salvation, make it stop. Someone shouted in desperation. The corners of the cabin darkened, drawing closer as if eager to snatch them away. Focus. Mary shouted again, but her own voice trembled. We need to distract it. While it's busy with us, someone can search for that source. The idea lingered, firing up a flicker of hope. It was a gamble, but perhaps they could lash out in unison. All right. Let us split up. Create a diversion. Are you insane? A woman retorted. What if it gets one of us? It already plans to take one of us. Mary shot back, breathing hard. If we stay together, we'll be trapped. We can't give it what it wants. With a collective glare at the figure, they hesitated, but the sense of urgency gripped them. We'll need to move fast. Follow my lead. Mary stepped forward, her heart racing. Just then, a chilling wind swept through the cabin, chilling them to the bone. The cloaked figure roared, splinters of rage cut through the air. Foolish children. Do you believe you can escape? The group surged forward, but not all would follow. The fear emanating from the corners wrestled with their resolve. Uncertainty slashed through them like glass, each second amplifying the dread. Mary's eyes widened. You. Help me. She beckoned. Another man stepped forward, resignation written all over his face. She thought she saw resolve hardening in others' expressions, but before she could make sense of it, the darkness erupted, and screams pierced the silence. Mary. The woman who had been so willing to sacrifice herself for her child stepped forward again, eyes blazing. I want to let my son be taken. Do what you must. No. Mary yelled, panic tightening her insides. Don't, please don't. The woman's face shimmered, a fleeting promise of bravery before the depths swallowed her whole. Terror gripped Mary as the shadows beckoned the doomed. Focus. Find the heart. She urged, but the chaos ignited anew. As the last bit of light flickered away, the husky whispers surrounded them again, sinking into her thoughts, wrapping tighter around her mind. Each heartbeat echoed a truth. Could they really find the heart without severing one of their own? Mary clenched her fists, helplessness flooding her senses. Whatever decision loomed, the weight felt unbearable. And then, from the corner, a soft giggle echoing like a ghost. A child's laughter, panic surged through her again, spilling doubt mixed with fear. What now? The chilling voice crooned, choose wisely or the child belongs to me. With shattering dread, Mary's heart sank. How could they save their own while preventing another loss? The question loomed heavy in the darkness, could they dare to choose, and if so, who would fall? Mary's heart raced, thumping against her chest like an urgent warning. Shadows danced around her, flickering in and out of her vision, testing her sanity. She caught a glimpse of the woman's face, now permanently etched into memory by sacrifice, and it nearly shattered her resolve. What do we do? A voice squeaked from the back, trembling as if he were about to break apart. The darkness seemed to lean closer, hungry for despair, feeding off their fear. Gather. Mary shouted, her voice slicing through the suffocating tension. We need to keep our minds clear. We can't let it divide us. Despite her plea, the panic was thick in the air, palpable like the heavy mist outside that obscured their escape. The shadows pressed tighter, squeezing their collective dread until the cabin felt like a coffin. Mary felt each breath a struggle, her chest tightening as despair clawed at her throat. The cloaked figure chuckled darkly, a sound that sent shivers racing down her spine. You think you can fight back? You think your wills can overpower darkness? Choose your sacrifice or embrace the darkness together. Shut up. Mary yelled, sweat slicking her palms. We want to feed you. You want a life. You'll have to earn it. The shadows writhed at her defiance, roiling with anger. The voice echoed again, more menacing, more insistent. One life to save many, what will it be? Their eyes darted around, fear knitting their brows together. The flickering candlelight revealed cracks in their composure, the desperate looks in each other's eyes screaming the silent question, who would step forward? I can't lose anyone else, a woman whispered, backing away, her voice nearly breaking. No more. I won tea. Not again. Enough. Mary snapped, fury mixing with terror. Running one tea save us. If you let it shake your resolve, that's when you've truly lost. She channeled all her fear into anger, pushing back against her own crippling doubt. Together. She shouted again, forceful, trying to inject courage into the quaking group. We fight as one. There's got to be something we can do. A flicker of agreement passed through the group. A middle-aged man nodded defiantly, rounding up a sense of rebellion against the suffocating loss. Okay. What do we try? For a moment, a glimmer of hope sparked, but that hope threatened to be extinguished as the cloaked figure took a step closer, the shadows wrapping like a noose around Mary's throat. So naive to think you decide your fate here. Suddenly, the air shifted. A chilling wind rattled the cabin's wooden beams. In a heartbeat, Mary's eyes turned to the wall opposite them, where an unsettling murmur rose like a tide. Look! Someone shrieked, points trembling. A sinister shape began to loom against the wall, morphing and writhing as if a titan of darkness was emerging, eager to claim its due. It twisted and shrieked, twisting the very fabric of reality as the child's laughter echoed sinisterly around them once more. No! Mary shouted, panic snapping her tethered thoughts. Please, anyone! The group was retreating again. They trembled, the darkness around them alive with an insatiable hunger. Mary's voice cut through the thickening dread. Focus! If we all believe, but the shadows mocked her. The malevolent laughter filled the air, and one by one, they felt the tide of despair wash over them. The cloaked figure leaned down, less than a whisper from her ear, you will be the one to choose. When faced with the truth, who are you willing to lose? Time is ticking. The weight of that question sent her mind spiraling. The laughter echoed as the shadows consumed the room, thickening, merging with a growing dread. Who would they decide to sacrifice? And as the darkness encroached, Mary felt an overwhelming certainty, tomorrow might never come unless a choice was made. But who would be lost in the making of it? What if it was her own child? That question hung unbidden, a noose tightening around her mind. Who will claim victory, or shall we all perish? The figure taunted, and the darkness seemed to ripple and giggle around them again, waiting with bated breath. With each heartbeat, the gravity of their situation tightened like a vice. One choice stood between them and ruin. Mary clenched her fists, uncertainty gripping her heart. Would they stand strong, or would choosing be the very thing that shattered them? The shadows thickened, swirling around them like a living blanket of dread. The flickering candles cast eerie shapes against the walls, warping reality into a grotesque theater of horrors. Mary's heart raced, she could feel every beat pounding against her ribcage. A cacophony of whispers filled her ears, drowning out her thoughts. It was chaos, and in that chaos, one question loomed larger than the rest: who would be sacrificed? Listen! She pleaded, voice nearly cracking. We can find another way. We can't, but her words faded beneath the growing din. The cloaked figure chuckled, a low, sinister melody that seeped into her bones. You think you can escape fate? Will you send someone to silence me? Or will you face eternal darkness? Around her, frantic breaths echoed like a chorus of impending doom. Fear clawed at their throats as faces twisted, reflecting the torment that hung between them. Even the bravest among them were wavering now, eyes darting with desperation. Mary clenched her fists tighter, focusing on the knot of anger unspooling deep within her. We can't let it win. We need to confront it. Confront what? Asked the man who had first shown defiance. Panic shone in his eyes. What do you think could stop this? It knows us. It wants us to turn on each other. I can, the woman's voice faltered, shaking. I can't choose. Not them. Not anyone. Enough. Mary snapped, her resolve igniting once more. We're not losing ourselves. If we stick together, but, at that moment, the shadows surged. A scream erupted from the back, a high-pitched wail that cut like glass. Mary spun around to see one of the group, a young woman named Annie, trembling in terror, pointing frantically toward the wall that pulsed with darkness that it morphed before their eyes, revealing a mirrored reflection of their fears, the very people they might be forced to betray. A flood of distorted memories spilled from the shadows, painful moments that they all carried. Faces of lost friends, family, and regrets twisted grotesquely, mocking them. Stop! Make it go away! Screamed Annie, collapsing to her knees. Please! Mary's chest tightened. This was a trap, crafted for despair. She felt the coldness of doubt creeping back in. How could they fight against visions that felt so real? Only one can end it. The figure sang out, glee in its tone as it drifted nearer. Choose who lives by deciding who dies. The group recoiled, the horror of those words hitting like a slap. Panic spiraled, a cyclone of voices rising, shouting over one another. Not me. I can't pick. Why should it be me? Mary steadied her breath, forcing the chaos to quiet in her mind. In that fleeting moment, she caught a glimpse of Annie's terrified face, young, hopeful. No. If we choose, no one wins. It's a game. Her voice trembled at the thought. It's just a trick. The shadows flickered, almost as if they were listening, waiting for their chance to pounce. Mary took a step forward, desperation morphing into determination. We create our own fate. We aren't toys for the darkness. We stand together. The mockery broke through again, the cloaked figure leaned closer, whispers pouring into Mary's ears. Together, or must there be a sacrifice? Your child, perhaps. A piercing chill raced down her spine. Her breath caught. The thought of her child, the one light she had left, sent her heart racing wildly. Stop! She screamed, eyes wide with horror. You can't use that against us. But it was too late. The shadows responded, an unholy laughter reverberating through the air. Voices of the past rose to drown her out. Choose wisely, Mary. Remember, time is fleeting. A darkness surged behind her, pulling at her. She felt the pull of the shadows at her back as if they were beckoning her to join them. What had started as a unified fight now felt like a fraying rope, torn between love and survival. I'll do it. A voice shouted, rising above the chaos. Mary whirled around, panic surging. No. Don't, but the decision hung dripping with dread, thickening the air with looming regret. Choose. Choose. Echoed endlessly, the shadows swirling around them, creeping ever closer. As the horrifying reality settled in, Mary realized that the words reaching her ears were not just mocking. They were a countdown, and she didn't know if she had the strength to face what lied ahead. Who would be the sacrifice? Would Annie step forward? Or would it be Mary herself willing to pay the price? And as darkness closed in, one question hung heavy in the air: what would they do when confronted with the choice of true life or haunting sacrifice? The cabin was thick with dread, the whispers climbing like a tide, suffocating everyone inside. Mary felt the shadows pressing down like a weight on her chest. The cloaked figure, now almost a part of the darkness itself, radiated malice, feeding off their despair. No. She shouted, desperation slicing through the chaos. We won't let it win. We're going to fight together. Her voice trembled, straining to be heard above the screams and panic. Think about why we're here. Remember who we're fighting for. As her words reverberated through the hearts of the passengers, a flicker of hope ignited. The atmosphere began to shift, if only slightly. The suffocating shadows let out a low growl, as if it sensed the change rising in the group. An older man, face lined with worry, stepped forward, determination stirring in his expression. "We can't sacrifice anyone. We have to stand against this." Others murmured in agreement, drawing strength from his words, filling with a burgeoning desire to resist. Mary felt their hands tighten around hers. Warmth began to spread like sunlight breaking through the clouds. "Gather your strength," Mary urged, feeling a new rush of adrenaline. "Channel your thoughts into one final stand. We are not afraid." In that moment of unity, she noticed the cloaked figure faltering, its grip on despair loosening ever so slightly. Just then, a child's laugh echoed from the depths of the shadows, cutting through the tension. It was sweet yet sinister, a reminder of what they stood to lose. "You're all just playthings." It sneered, its voice an intimate caress against their skin. "One must fall. Choose." "No." Mary shot back, a fire igniting in her soul. "We won't choose. We'll stand here together, gathered in defiance of your darkness." The others joined her words, pumping energy into their collective resolve. They faced towards the obscured figure, the flickering shadows wavered like wispy smoke. The darkness pulsed, uncertain against their unyielding determination. It was like an unseen wall pressing up against it. "You think you have the power?" The figure hissed, familiar tones slipping through, silencing their cheers. "You cannot escape your fate. Someone must pay." "I told you," Mary pressed, her voice gaining volume. "We make our fate. Not you. It ends now." With that, she felt herself growing lighter, lighter like a balloon ready to burst with color against the gloom. Whether it was foolishness or bravery, she could not tell. All she knew was that as her heart thundered, the shadows began to recede. Around her, the passengers looked bewildered but emboldened, their fear transformed into defiance. Mary caught sight of the officer from earlier, now standing resolute. "We're not going to let fear choose for us," he shouted. "Let us build a wall of hope." Together, they began to chant, their voices blending into a melody of resistance, a song that intertwined confidence with courage. Hope. Strength. Unity. Their words swelled until it transformed into a vibrant shield against the depths of despair that sought to consume them. The cloaked figure recoiled as if struck. "This isn't over," it cried. But the shift in energy was palpable, it couldn't hold on to its sinister grasp. The laughter turned into anguish as an otherworldly screech ripped through the cabin. "Stay together. Hold on," Mary encouraged, as the air shifted once more. They were not just souls fighting for survival, they were flames igniting against darkness. The shadows trembled, swirling frantically, their power dissipating like a fading storm, and then, with a thunderous roar, the cloaked figure unraveled, the darkness screeched and snapped. A beam of radiant light burst forth, illuminating the cabin, its warmth washing over Mary and the others. The malevolence dissipated into mist. Stunned silence filled the cabin as the passengers stood together, bound by their shared experience. They looked around, their faces reflecting pure relief and disbelief. Mary's heart slowed, trembling hands still clutching onto one another. Their bond had saved them, a unity forged in courage that transcended the dark. As the plane began its descent, Mary let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. She could almost see the bright horizon beckoning them. "We made it," she whispered, laughter bubbling up, buoyed by an overwhelming sense of victory, hope anchoring their souls. The passengers took a collective sigh, eyes shining with resilience, ready to embrace their futures, living testaments to survival crafted from that harrowing experience. In the end, it wasn't just escape or survival, it was understanding the darkness, facing it together, and transforming it into light. As they disembarked, Mary held on to her newfound friends, a vow unspoken binding them. They would carry this memory forward, a testimony to the strength rooted in unity against the shadows that dared to consume them. Now you too can echo this powerful journey. Don't wait, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that await. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't forget to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Let us keep this journey alive together.